cráneos subterráneos donde vive el underground.
I'm proud to present a very, very special guest, one of the heavy hitters of the underground, one of the best producers out there, in my opinion. Someone that has produced for people of the caliber of Helter Skelter, Beanie Paz, Apathy, Capadona, Chino XL, and many, many more. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Stu Bangas. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the blogging podcast.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to having you, man. Big fan of your stuff. I was just listening to a few of the tracks too that you did with Beanie Paz for the Pain Collector.
Mm-hmm.
Very dope album. Also, shout out to C Lance, which was another producer that worked on the album, and I also had the chance to interview him. His interview was a little different, but shout out to C Lance as well. Let me ask you something. I mean, you grew up in Boston. At what age is when you say, I really want to do this, I want to be a producer, you fell in love with the culture? How'd that happen?
Probably making beats, I was about 20. I first got in turntables, Technique turntables, when I had seen a video of Gangstar's Mass Appeal. And if you know, during the hook, I don't know if you've seen the video, they premieres like at a party cutting up on the tables, and it was just so cool. I was like, wow, I gotta get tables. So I worked all summer construction for my father and saved up money. It was like I don't know, like $1,800 I saved up, and I bought turntables and I got a Bestex mixer. And then I just started learning how to cut, and I was really not that good at cutting at first, better at like blending, like matching the BPMs, the tempos. I caught onto that quick. I eventually got better at the cutting. So I did that for a number of years, probably 3 or 4 years. And then I got a little older and I was like, I want to start making my own beats. So one of my friends that made beats had an MPC, and I bought one of those, and then he taught me. So I was probably in my early 20s I started making beats, and I'm 38 now. So
I'm 41, so we there.
Yeah,
we got to live through the golden era.
We did, my friend.
as we call it.
Right.
Let me ask you something. You know, it's funny, but Boston has always been like New York's little brother.
Yes.
A lot of the big artists, you know, speaking of Gangsta Guru, was from Boston, and he actually left the city and went to work with DJ Premier. Everybody knows the story, but he wasn't really repping Boston. So what's your opinion on the Boston scene? Why do you think it's always been like that?
I think, obviously it's a smaller market. There's less avenues to get your music out. I mean, when I was really focused on the local scene, there was really just like 94.5 to get your music heard. And if you were local, it was really just the launch pad, which was like only on Sundays. It was only for a couple hours, which was really a good opportunity, and we'd all listen to it. But there just wasn't the opportunity like that in New York, I don't think, to get your music out to the wider fan base. And then there was really no record execs or labels like around Boston. So I think really that's Guru moving there tells you, he had to do that he was an example of someone that had to do that to really get his career to the next level. And then, Premier was from Texas. He went to college in Texas, like Prairie View, A&M. So he moved to New York, the same thing. It's just a bigger market, I think,
Yeah, it's a shame. Boston is a beautiful city, but it's not really doing it for hip hop. Although some artists have come out of here and I made a little bit of noise, respect to Edo G.
Oh yeah,
the legends doing the
legend. Really nice guy too. Very nice guy. He's a really nice guy, really talented guy. I think he could have done more than he did. There's a new guy out right now. It's a white dude named Millies he's from Cambridge. He's really trying hard, going hard with. He's talented. Not the same type of music that I do, but really talented guy.
Yeah, I've seen a few of his freestyles and
he can rap, man. He can
Shady
rap.
45 and
yeah. There's another guy, Token. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's talented, man.
I didn't know he was from out here.
I think he's from the suburbs of somewhere, and I couldn't tell you where, but I'm pretty sure he's from Massachusetts.
He's quite lyrical. I like that kind of writing for
Me
sure.
too. It's very impressive. Yeah.
Going back at the beginning of your career, when you started producing, can you name 3 producers that really inspire you to produce the way you do?
Oh yeah, easily. I would say Premier first, and then I was really obsessed, like all of us, with Wu-Tang. So RZA, and then Alchemist. Yeah, exactly. And then Alchemist, who I think was really influenced by RZA, obviously, and DJ Muggs. Those would be, and then I put Muggs in there for a fourth one. So those would be Premier, RZA, Alchemist, and Muggs. I'd say.
Yeah, that's you don't need anything after that. Then you need some Stu Bangas for the fifth.
Thank you. I wish.
No, but definitely, I listen to all of them to this day. I think I'm stuck in the 90s. I'm feeling the new DJ Mox. DJ Mox is doing a hell of a production for Cypress Hill, Rocky Marciano.
Yes.
A lot of artists that he's putting out and they promote in hardcore, but a lot of respect for DJ Mox and his career. DJ Premier is still one of my favorites too. You know, he has nothing but bangers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I follow you on Instagram, I always see that you post a lot of comics, and also by listening to your beats, I always comment on them because I mean I'm an MC. Besides doing this as my second thing within the culture, when I listen to your beats, I always get that scary movie type sound, like when someone's about to get killed.
Yeah,
you know, horror movie type shit.
Right. Yeah.
So where the fascination for that comes from?
Oh, geez, man. Well, the comic books, I don't know if you ever collected comic books when you were younger, but my cousin introduced me to those when I was probably like 8 or 9, 10. And then, you know, so I got a couple, and then out of the back, you can subscribe to them. So my mother said if I did chores around the house, she would get me 2. So I would get X-Men every month, and then I would get Wolverine every month. So I saved up, and then after that, I would go and buy stuff you could buy them at CVS or, you know, any like corner store. You could buy comic books when we were kids. And, you know, I just was fascinated by the art. I used to try to draw. I was never really that good, but I was always really, really into it. My son's into it too. You know, so it was really cool. So I still collected all those, and I've saved them all, kept them in good condition. And I just admire the artwork. Anything that's really art, I'm really drawn to. So that's that. And then the horror stuff, you know, I don't know. I was just 80s in general, the 80s sound, 80s movies, 80s music. Really, that's my era when I really started to like comprehend of anything that was happening. Like I remember everything starting from about 85, 86. And that really left a big impression on me. So I think that's where that comes from. But a lot of it does come with the synth and the horror kind of sound. That's kind of where that comes from.
Definitely. I mean, it's the perfect sound for the people you have produced. And I see why it stuck with you through the years, because it's not just one album. You keep seeing it. If people really pay attention to the credits, you know, when you buy the album, read the credits,
yes.
Learn who's the producer. Because for some reason, it's always been like the producer is the obscure character in the equation. And then the MC gets all the shine. But 70-80% of the song is the beat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about your favorite artists. So we could go down the line. You know, not too many of them have bad production. You know, that's a big part of it.
I mean, your track is your record is just flawless. You know.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Because to do this interview, I went behind the scenes and visited your page and other things out there online, and always impressed. I haven't heard something and be like, yeah, it's all right. Maybe the next one. That's not the case with the Stu Bangas. So for all of you out there that
thank you so much.
Wanna follow this man, please make sure you buy his records, support his talent, because that's what we need to do if we want the underground to remain untouched.
Thank you.
By the commercial. You're welcome, sir. And I say it from the heart, for real. I really respect what you do. I'm a fan.
I appreciate that.
Going back to the questions that I prepared, when you started producing, you know, it was always a process, learning. Maybe you think you have evolved, your style has changed, or it's the same style but polished?
So I used to be, I would say, a little more too focused on the sample, where try to find a good sample I can use and go from there. If we really think about it, at least it's changed a little bit to where, and I don't want to get off the topic, but you know, a lot of kids aren't using drums anymore, but I think we can agree hip hop is drums. If your drums don't sound good, the beat's not going to be good. So I think I've really I look back on some of my older beats and I'm like, oh geez, wow, I wish I had used like different drums, or I would get too used to using the same drums because I know they hit hard. But now my process more is try to vary the drums, use maybe some more drum breaks, still chop it up, but really focus more heavily on the drums, and then finding a sample that complements the drums, not just the sample and then put some hard drums behind it, if that makes sense. So
it does make sense. Are all your beats sample, or you try to get like, real instruments? And
yes, I for myself, say if I'm just making a beat by myself, it's really always going to be a sample, and then I would use some keyboard behind it if I can find something that matches good. But I've worked with, there's a guy named Jordy Simons, he's from Holland, that plays synth keyboards. We actually did one together that's on the new Vinny Paz and Tragedy Gaddafi. They have an album coming out, and he's already announced that album, so I'm not releasing any.
Oh wow! I thought I was getting like latest news. Bye.
I wish. He's already promoted it. So we did one on there, and then there's a couple other ones. I've got an album with a guy named Vic Spencer from Chicago, and some of those beats are ones I've done with a guy named Kim One, who does synths as well. So I just put the drums behind it and I'll chop it up. I try not to just loop the stuff. And then, so I'm not capable of making these sample-free beats myself, but I work with some really talented musicians, and then I try to add to what they've played.
Yeah, you help each other and enhance to making better music, for sure. A lot of people think that, I'll just do it all by myself, but it's good to do collabs here and there.
Yes, absolutely. If I could play all these instruments myself, I would do it, but I'm just not that talented. So, we came from, turntables and, drum breaks and samples. That's what I grew up on. So that's what I do,
That's what this blog is called, Back to the Essence, because that's what we got to go back to the beginning, how everything started.
Right.
For all the new producers and beat makers out there, can you tell us, like, where is your favorite place to go crate digging and just buy some great records to make music?
Yeah, well, I can tell you when I was in Boston, I would go to Cheapo Records. I don't know if you know where that is. I think that's in Kenmore Square. I would go in Central Square. There was a couple places. There was another Cheapo's out there. And that's when I was still living in Boston. I've moved to the suburbs now. So I really don't have time to go into the city anymore to go to find the actual record stores. When I was in New York, I would go to like Sound Library. You want to pay a little more. That's a place where they kind of already dig, and then they bring everything into the record store. So I've gone there before. Now, man, it's more so like going on eBay. I do a lot of investigative work on my own, just because I've got so many records, man. I could pull like so many out here, Just I've been collecting records for I'm just pulling stuff out. I've been digging for records since I was, early 20s. And you just read the labels, and over time you learn more and more, like, this guy's a good keyboardist. And then you go to his stuff, and then that leads you down kind of like a rabbit hole, like, say, if you're watching YouTube. It just leads you on, and then you can find a lot of stuff on eBay and just buy off there, So that's primarily where I do most of my digging now. And then I've also got some, just from making beats for so long, I've met guys that actually deal records. They go out and they dig from all over the country, and they'll play stuff, and you can buy stuff off them. So I do that as well.
It's kind of crazy how the CD is dead, but the vinyl is not going away anytime soon.
I've thought about that too, man. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, it's because people really use vinyl and they like that sound that comes from it.
Yeah, it's a warmer sound. It's just a different experience,
Definitely, and DJs are the ones keeping that tradition alive.
Absolutely.
Can you explain to us a little bit of how is your creative process? Like, let's say you come down to the basement of the studio. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing that's gotta happen, and what tools are a must-have when we're creating music?
So it's really just drum breaks that I'll get off record, or maybe I bought like a drum kit off like a guy named Beat Butcher. I buy some drum kits off him or trade with him. So I need good drums. You gotta have good drums. And then obviously just samples, like records that I know that have good samples on them. So it's all off the records. And then I'll have, I like this keyboard a lot just for basses. It's just a microKORG. It's really an affordable, I'd say, to guys that are interested in hands-on stuff, not like plugins, like actually playing it themselves. That's a good affordable option for basses, for synths. And I'll just, say like I'm trying to make some records for Vinny Paz. He might tell me, hey Stu, I'm working on an album. I know what tempo Vinny Paz is looking for, like his comfort zone. MCs, you'll notice a lot of times they'll rap on a certain tempo. So if I'm trying to make a beat specifically for this artist, I'll that will be a limitation of mine. This is the tempo between this range, and then I'll play with that. I'll usually start with the drums, get it to sound how I want, and then just find a sample that fits it. Because the samples are all types of tempos as well. You just want to find and then not to get too off topic here, but going back to DJing and blending, the best blends you can have, I found, is where you don't have to adjust the tempo too much. It blends together nicer. So same thing for adding drums and samples. If you can find them that match the tempo kind of similarly, it comes out better. And then you just chop everything up. And I don't want to give all those secrets, but you're just chopping the sample on the kick and the snare or the hi-hat. And then you're just playing and you just come up with what sounds best for you.
Excellent. Knowledge, guys. Listen, take notes.
Absolutely.
You're making beats. You got to learn from this man because obviously he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I hope I can teach some people something and they can elevate off that, because I'm not trying to disillusion myself to think I'm the most talented person, but I hope someone can take that and learn from that and then run with it, Maybe they can add their own thing to it,
That's the difference that computers and media and channels like YouTube are doing for a lot of people, rappers, producers, because there are tutorials on everything in YouTube. When we were learning, we had to learn it from somebody that was there in the room and then wouldn't be as patient as a tutorial as to be like, either learn it or I'm leaving. It was like...
That's right. Absolutely.
Like the young kids nowadays don't know what we went through. We went through real work.
And I think because of that, we appreciate things more. I think we're a little less entitled. I think the newer generation wants it and they want it now. And that's just how things change,
And that's how music is too. They just listen to one song today, then tomorrow is not hot anymore. They don't get to know more about the artist. It's just it. Just pop them like popcorn. That's it.
That's right, man. It's like fast food, brother.
Fast food. But that's what happens when the big companies take something that belongs to us and try to make it into a profitable machine. So they have to keep finding talent, if you can call it talent. I mean, some people can call me an old head, but I respect music that has lyrics. I respect music when people took their time to make the beat. And like you said, I go and study. So nowadays, it's just all computer generated. Repeat the hook 4 times, put some auto-tune, boom, ready to go.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If you don't have the lyrics, I have a hard time listening to it because it's just not enough substance. And the beat is very important as well. They're equally important. You gotta have both. I'm with you on that.
You gotta have both for sure. Let's talk about, as we talk about the commercial, that the underground never went away. It's just that you have to find it. That's why we created, blogs like this so people can find the underground.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about the new wave coming out of New York? Like the Griselda Cam, Conway, Pounds, Daniel Son.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different rappers coming out with a new sound from New York. What do you think about that?
Oh, I love it, man, because it's closer to the sound that you and I grew up on than what had been there previously. A lot of times the underground, not a lot of times, I say at one point in time, the underground and independent scene was a little more, it didn't have any of that street edge to it. It didn't have enough of it, I feel. So I love it. All the guys you mentioned are very talented. I got fortunate to do a song with Daniel Son on an album that I produced for a guy from the UK named Fiber Optics, and he was on one of the songs. Really talented guy. But hopefully could do some more work with him in the future. I'm not too familiar with Pounds. I saw one of the songs he did with that guy Crime Apple, who's very talented and very nice guy as well. He's very talented. I think that guy is really someone that people need to watch out for because he's Colombian like you as well. He can speak. Yes, he's very talented because he can. He looks like a white guy, but he speaks. So he's got that can appeal to certain people. But he's very lyrical. He is
versatile.
Versatile. Thank you. And he can speak both languages. And then the Griselda, very, very talented. I can't say enough about, that bringing that back, that aspect of hip hop, especially to the underground scene, like the street stuff. That's what I love.
I think we have to keep a balance, as commercial as it's getting and people is just mumbling over beats, then we gotta have something that is hardcore, that is raw, that is lyrical to go with it, because life can be just all party, you can be in the club all day. You go to the club for a couple hours and then you need something about life.
Exactly. You need balance, just like in anything, man. We need physical balance, our mind, our spirituality. Same with music. Life is about balance. I agree.
For sure. Let me ask you something. As a beat maker and producer, because I'd rather say producer. I learned that from Nine. He very much broke it down for me. If you're a producer, you work with the artist. Have you got the chance to go to the studio with the people you work with? Anybody in particular that you enjoy working with, and you want to share a little story with us?
I've worked with Ill Bill in the studio, worked with Slane from the Coca Nostra in the studio. I worked with Sean Price before he passed away in the studio.
R.I.P. Sean Price.
Yeah, he was a really, really great guy. I've worked with Vinny Paz in the studio, Esoteric when we did a song called The Danger from his and I's album. No, we did that in the studio in Philadelphia, and the only thing, and Crumb Snatcher, another, just so many really talented guys. The only thing I can say is, not one particular experience stands out, but what I'll tell you is when an MC that has it, like the it factor, you just know it when they're spitting over your beat. You don't, because when they're recording, you don't hear the beat. You're watching them in the booth, and they just have a different aura about them than a guy that maybe doesn't really have it. You know what I mean? So you just know it when you see it, and it's just like, wow, it's just like a pleasure. Like, these guys can do this stuff. The really talented guys can just do it in like Vinny Paz will do it in one take. He's one example. And it's just like, he don't even need any backups, bro. It's just, he just has that voice that cuts through, and it's just like stop and like just and enjoy what you're witnessing. The best way.
He's one of the great ones. I'm a fan of Vinny Paz. I went to see him recently, the Boston show with Crime Apple. It was a really dope show.
It was. I was there as well. Really dope.
You see, I mean, you gotta support that kind of talent. I was psyched to see him perform. That was the first time I got to see him live, and I really enjoyed the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me talk about one last question before we wrap this interview. I'm really enjoying talking to you, and really appreciate it.
Me too, man. Thank you. I appreciate it as well.
I feel special.
Me too.
if you know what I mean.
Thank you.
For all the young producers out there, if they want to make a splash in the underground scene, what would be the best word of advice you can give these young producers?
Okay, the best thing, I think now more than ever that it's available for you to do. It's right there at your fingertips because of social media. It's so easy to get in touch with these guys, and they always need beats. Let's face it, there's so, like you said, the new generation, they need to consume material like this. Thus, the rappers are always, they're putting out more and more music. Thus, they need more and more beats. So that's one thing. It's available for you. Second, if you really want to do it because you love it, not because you think you're going to get rich off it, because that might happen, it might not. But you're going to be happier if you're doing it because you love it. And then I guess the third thing would be, make it like a regimen, make it like a part of your schedule. Like, okay, you might have to work a 9 to 5, or you have other obligations, but look at it that way. Not as like you have to, you want to, but look at it as a schedule. I'm going to do this, this, and this on this day repeatedly. Also, the more you do anything, the better you get at it. So look at it like that. Do it because you love it. Work at it diligently and perfect your craft. And then if you have good beats, they're going to get used. If they get heard by one person and if they're really good, they're going to get used. Other people are going to hear it, and it's just going to expand your whole network. So that's really the best advice I can give.
Well, all you young producers out there, you heard it here first. Cráneos Subterráneos, Subterranean Craniums, Back to the Essence podcast. It's Stu Bangas. Peace out.
Thanks for having me.